She's crafting experiences so unforgettable, even your AI assistant will be jealous. It's Event About It with Anca Trifan. Hey everybody, welcome to Event About It. I'm your host, Megan Martin, and our guest this week is known for being the fittest woman in events, an AI illuminator, and host of Events Demystified podcast, founder of Trifan Events, and if that wasn't enough, senior manager of meetings and incentive worldwide. Welcome to the studio, Anca.
Thank you so much for having me. I don't know who that person is, but she sounds like someone I would want to know.
I mean, I agree. I'm grateful that I know you. And soon enough, I think you're going to get to add author to your long bio list, which we're going to get into that a little bit later. But most people probably have seen some episodes, but it was really important for me to have you on as one of the very first guests of Event About It, because none of this would exist at all if it weren't for you and allowing me to kind of test this concept. And for those that haven't seen it, Anca's podcast, Events Demystified, has a series season all about Event About It, where we had so much fun bringing guests on, telling crazy, crazy stories like speakers having heart attacks on stage and doing events for 5 days with no power. You know, we talked about the Olympics. It was a lot of fun. And even a live session at IMAX, like how can we forget about that? That was probably the most fun session I've ever done. And I'll definitely link to all those episodes in our show notes here, but I just can't even express my gratitude and giving me sort of the confidence boost of being able to launch Event About It kind of on its own and having you on as the very first guest.
Well, you know what, Megan, I was just thinking about it because it's actually been a year when we were you were having like a drink in Vegas talking about this concept. That's when you first came up with the concept. And I was thinking, wow, it's been a year. And I think it's because like good things take time, right? For it to happen. And then I was like, well, if Megan is the mother of this brainchild, then I must be the auntie. Yeah. So we have like this little family that we conceived together while having a drink at Eventech Live in Las Vegas last year.
I mean, I guess we broke the saying of like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, because Event About It definitely didn't stay in Vegas.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, definitely we had such an amazing season. Season 9 is the season that Megan is alluding to, and so many good stories. I mean, what a fun experience that has been. And I'm so grateful that I was part of the birding process of the podcast. And I'm really, really proud of you for taking it into actually becoming it what it is going to be. I promise it's going to be such an amazing project for you to keep at it and provide more opportunities for event professionals to share some of those stories that sometimes you just need the right stage to share it on, right?
The safe space, the global safe space for sharing.
I mean, what could go wrong?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as we kind of allude to in your bio, you speak a lot on AI, event tech, industry trends. You also have Fit for Events framework, the Fit Mindful Mavens, advocating for wellness events, all of that. And we're going to get deep into that in the after show for sure. So stay tuned for that. But the first thing I want to do is I put together a really fun game. It's a little bit Mythbusters, a little bit meets AI Demystified, and it's called Ctrl+Alt+Delusion. And we're going to give you a myth about AI, and you have to decide control, we're going to keep it, it's true. We're going to alt, it's a myth, but maybe part of it's true. Or delusion, delete it completely. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, who even would start a rumor like this?
All right.
Okay. So here we go. Ctrl+Alt+Delusion. First up, AI will take over all human jobs and will take over the world.
Wow. I would say that because I'm such a realistic optimist, part of that can be true. AI is not going to take over the world. It is a tool. Computers didn't take over the world. The industrial age, when we switched from, I don't know, in agricultural equipment into the industrial, it didn't take over the world in that sense, like in that fearful sense. Yes, it has been such a tremendous revolution. And same with AI. I feel like a lot of people have this fear that once we reach AGI, what's going to happen is, are cyclones real?
Right.
um, is that going to be our reality? And I honestly, I welcome that reality if that was to be true. I think there's a place for this new future world to exist. It might not catch me and you or our kids, and we're talking about 100, 200 years from now, right? So,
Sure.
like, should I worry about that? It's like I already have enough things to worry about today.
For sure.
Um, I think we can call it like a half baked um
A half-baked myth.
misconception. So
Okay.
I'll go half. All right, we should be aware of it. We should be aware because we get, right now in this moment in time, we get to humanize AI. We get
Yes.
to train it like the same way you would train a child. So it's up to us if we want to weaponize it and turn it into the destructive force that is gonna send us, blowing into the sun, or use it for greater good. So the
Agreed.
responsibility is still ours.
Absolutely. So, number two myth, AI can be biased because it learns from biased data.
That is definitely true. I mean, I constantly struggle with AI, especially as I'm preparing for a lot of AI talks and presentations, and I create my slides based on outlines that I put together using this AI tool called Gamma AI. And I swear to God, every single time I try to get a presenter image of someone presenting on technology or AI or anything that has to do with tech, it's always going to be first prompt without giving it much like instructions, right? Just a general prompt. It's a male. The second time around is going to be an Asian person. The third time around is when I really have to go deep and say, okay, I want it to be a female person of color for me to get something that it's not going to be automatically, again, very much biased,
Hmm.
generated, that in most cases, 99 times out of 100 is going to be, like I said, a male or an Asian person feeding this role of a technologist, or
Yeah.
anything like if it has to do with leadership. It's always going to be a female figure, a male figure, and white or Asian. And that's where I think a lot of that bias is embedded in its fabric, in the way it was trained. If you think about it, if it has been trained by a mass population that comes from other parts of the world that have a different preconceived idea of who should be in leadership roles or who is more knowledgeable of technology and such, that kind of adds up.
Yeah. It makes sense. As you said, we're training them like we are training children. So, if it only learns on what it knows. Next up, AI
Exactly.
can understand emotions just like humans do.
So I was a South by and I joined this conversation on emotional AI. And it was very, very interesting. First off, it was 9 a.m. and one of the presenters was like so into like the outer space
Okay.
that I felt like I needed a few drinks embedded with a lot of pot for me to even be able to tap into that vision. So I was
Sure.
like, this is too early in the day to be able to conceptualize what this guy is talking about. Luckily, there's other like more down to earth
Sure.
panelists that were able to
Bring it
talk
back
to,
down.
yes, talk to this concept of emotional machines, AI, feelings, and the human body. And it was a very powerful reminder that AI can really help us connect deeper to our emotions, not numb them. And as someone that really cares a lot about technology, but also well being, hello, Fit for Events, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
this really hit home because the key takeaway was emotional intelligence starts in the body. and AI can amplify awareness and concepts like introspection, and that is what can make AI more human. And now, there's a lot to be said about AI companions and how fast we're going in that direction. And not to give this out, but it was a question that I raised to David T. Stevens, which is the host of Return on Wellness. He just interviewed a very, very smart psychological PhD neuroscience expert. I don't even know what the exact title is, but it just sounded very much into that direction.
Sure.
And I wanted to hear her opinion about what she thought about AI companions. And I'm not going to give it this out, but you're going to have to check out that episode that's going to air out, I think, this month, at the end of this month, on Return on Wellness, because she had something very, very smart to say in that direction.
Well, we'll have to check it out. We can't wait. I mean, Dave Stevens has another great podcast as well, all on the return on wellness. I W the fittest woman in events. He has dubbed himself the fittest man in events, and I
I mean,
don't
we
think
do have the
either are
push-up
wrong.
challenge,
I
which Megan almost joined last year at
No.
IMAX, but she was like, "No, I'm dressed with the skirt and in high heels. I think I'm just gonna watch."
I love to support, but you will never find me at the push-up challenge, especially not at like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, sometimes you probably need a different kind of drink to engage in some of those activities.
I don't even like doing push-ups when I have to do them at the gym when someone tells me, and so I'm not going to do it for fun, for sure. But
One
I'm
day,
always there
there's
to
hope.
support and cheerlead.
One day, I'm sure it's gonna happen. I can't wait.
One day. All right, this is a good one. AI can recognize patterns in data better than humans. I live in this world every day, so I'm intrigued what your thoughts are.
Well, I would say that is 100% true. I
Yeah.
mean, not that humans are unable to, but I think because of the fact that there's machine learning, there's a lot of data, there's a lot of speedness to
Yeah.
AI to be able to not just recognize, but also interpret a lot of the data and do it super, super fast. That's
Yes.
where I think of AI as a great augmentation to the human expertise. Now, AI might be looking at this data and not have context for it, or might be
Correct.
looking at the data and have no story for it, right? That's where the power of AI and the human domain expertise comes into play, because you can give that data, that those numbers, you can give it a story, you can give it a narrative, and then AI can simplify it, can take all those numbers and make sense of them. And there's a lot of power in AI focused analytics, and there are a lot of tools out there that do that. And I think as the event industry, we need to lean more in that direction
I agree.
and look at it as a great tool that we can use, as you said, like on a daily, if that's really that's your role, or that's how that's the space you operate in.
Yeah, it is. And more than just, hard data, even the qualitative stuff, I was running some focus groups recently and used an AI tool to kind of help consolidate, and where are the themes? What are those
Mm-hmm.
common words? Give me word clouds. What was used most? What was used
Mm-hmm.
least? Running and doing qualitative analysis stuff, even in college, would take weeks at a time,
Right.
like going through these transcripts, day after day. And basically to be able to write a focus group report off of, almost 2 dozen focus group transcripts in a matter of 2 or 3 days because of AI was
Right.
just incredibly impactful.
Exactly.
Let's see, the next one. AI knows everything because it's always learning from the internet.
I mean, depends. Some AI might, some doesn't. Not all AI has a connection to the internet. Not all AI has a deep search model to look into all the data. And then think about the fact that we're also, through our interaction, we are training AI, right? So
Yes.
you might train it in a direction that doesn't necessarily reflect what's found on the internet. You might train it in a direction that benefits you And that's where the power of customization, personalization come into play. Doesn't know everything? I don't think so. I was running this exercise back to back from with my team at MIW as I'm in the process of doing all these AI trainings and workshops. And I wanted to take someone that's never used AI and run a simple prompt, and just ask, hey, who is, and put their name in there, and what do they do? Just a very blank prompt to see how much information there is on that person. And even with the connection to the internet, I think we use Copilot. The person was able to find some data on this person that was named as they were and pull it, as fact. That's not true. Like, this person's like, I don't know who this, I don't know, Helen is.
Right.
Yes, my name is Helen X, but that's not me. I did the same thing on my AI that I've been using for almost 3 years now, and automatically it pulled all the information that I've been teaching it. When you talk about me, I want you to focus on this, on this. I want you to highlight this expertise. I want you to promote this type of content, right? So it had two completely different outputs based on the amount of training and amount of time spent with that particular tool. So it could have pulled some information off the internet, like Gemini would do a great Google search and say, yeah, based on all the content you put online and all the websites that you have, yes, I have several, this is who Anca is. But when it comes to the training of the AI tool, it went way more in depth into how I wanted to present myself based on the training that I gave it, based on the
Right.
prompts, and also based on the instructions that I gave it, so that every time I wanted to do a quick bio snippet to send it to, say, a planner when I speak, it already has that. I don't have to constantly remind it.
Right. I think one thing to remember too, not all AI bots are connected to the internet. So
No,
there are definitely bots that you can train. A lot of chat bots for event websites are trained only on your event data and
exactly.
don't go and scrub the internet. So that myth is kind of half true. There are
Yeah,
some that scrub the internet for information
it
and
has a
learn
lot of
from it and some not.
disclaimers.
Yes. Half true. All right, two more really fun ones. AI can write an entire novel that's just as good as human authors. So, are you using any AI to write your new book?
That is a great question. Honestly, I would doubt that AI written content at that level is any good.
Don't
Sure, I
disagree.
mean, you could write a half baked novel on a specific theme about some characters. But what I've learned, and this is me going through the process of outlining my book, editing my book, and right now I'm about 10 chapters in, five more to go.
You're so
Hopefully
close.
it's gonna
So
happen.
close. I mean, it's
But
only
those are
March. You said you
long.
wanted it done by the end of the year. So,
Yeah,
kudos, girl. You're getting there.
I mean, I'm just a little bit behind schedule right now, just because I mean, February and March have been insane,
You've been
and
traveling
I'm already
everywhere.
feeling the pressure. I'm like, I gotta catch up. I gotta catch up. So I was, I have about 60,000, if not more, words in already. And as I was going through my chapters, what I was looking for AI to help me is flow. Make sure that as I'm dumping all these words on paper, there is a flow. I'm sticking to my team, and there's some learnings, and there's some structure to this whole madness of words, where if somebody was reading it, it could get inside my brain and understand the narrative, right?
Right.
So as I'm going through the content, I'll tell you right off the bat, ChatGPT, as much as I trusted on many other jobs and projects, failed me miserably. So I was like, okay, ChatGPT, I don't give it a name anymore because I've used a lot of names on it, and none of them, some of them were not that pretty. And I was like, I got to take it to another tool. So I did. I took it to Claude, and Claude has been my go-to for any creative work. And I even, I built a persona for myself. I'm like this reflective, technical writer, and I wanted this book to be deeply reflective, but with a side of technical, because obviously I have a
Sure.
heavy technical background. And it was much, much easier for it to conceptualize what am I going after, what's the voice, the tone, and stick with that across chapters, right? Because what I would encounter with ChatGPT was like it would lose that sense. As I'm going through those prompts and those very, very long chapters, I would have to constantly um, like what's the word I'm trying to use? Create a summary of what we've been discussed to start a new chat. So because I was just running out of tokens and I was just like, it would start hallucinating. And there
Sure.
is a point in which, like with a lot of content, a chatbot would hallucinate, and you're gonna see which tool runs into that problem faster if you work with such a large amount of words and data.
Yeah.
And for me, that's where Claude like really was able to deliver, so that now I have confidence that when I'm coming into my next stage, which is editing, I could take my content back through it, and then it wouldn't lose the sense of what exactly I'm trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think there's different AI tools for different things you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
ChatGPT is not the end all be all. There's all kinds of other,
Yeah.
chatbots and tools and AI systems out there depending on what you're trying to
Yeah,
accomplish.
I mean, that's what I say all the time. Like, because I get asked so many times, like, what's your go-to AI tool? I'm like, I have a range. And also, I can't really tell you what works for me because it might not work for you. Yes, as a general, guideline, I use ChatGPT for a lot of projects. But if I need to do some deep research, I always go to Perplexity or Gork 3.
It's my
Like, that
favorite,
is
yeah.
way next level when it comes to deep research. For writing, as I said, Claude is my go-to. Then if I want some images, obviously I'm not going to create that in ChatGPT and Dolly because that's just silly.
Yeah.
It's still silly the way the output it works. I take that to Midjourney or a different Flux or
Yeah.
whatever, a different editor. There's many different tools out there, and I think a lot of people get this overwhelmed. There are too many tools, right? What I always say is look at your workflow, and you get to decide where AI could be a helper, a support system, an assistant. That's where the opportunity is. But me just telling you, use all of those tools, and you're like, well, I don't do what you do, then it's kind of like useless, right?
Yeah.
So depends on your workflow, depends on what you do. Like if you do a lot of data analysis, you're like, sure, I can take all of this to ChatGPT, upload all my spreadsheets, upload all my content, all my data, whatever. But what about instead taking it to Copilot, and you use Copilot in apps like Copilot in
Correct.
Microsoft, Copilot in Excel, instead of having to constantly upload, not even talking about and touching about privacy, security, entering PII and SPII
Of course.
content into a chatbot, into a public chatbot. And a lot of event companies and agencies struggle with that. They're like, I don't want to put my data out there, and nor do I want to put my clients, at a liability for some of that data being compromised. So
Yep,
um,
absolutely.
there's a lot to be said about that. I don't know if I answered your question because I think we're
No,
just going off
absolutely
on
did.
a
No, it's all
rampant
good.
here.
Well, that was a fun game of Ctrl+Alt+Delusion where we
Mm.
demystified AI a little bit. So, time to have a little bit more fun. We're going to mix it up a little. So, next up is time to event about it. It's the part of the show where you get to spill the tea on memorable event moments, whether it was a huge success, a total disaster, or just pure chaos. We want to hear about it. You just came back from South by Southwest. You have to have some kind of a story. There's always stories that come out of South by. So give us a nugget of something crazy that happened while you were in Austin.
Does it always have to be crazy? Oh,
It doesn't
I
have to
do
be
have a
crazy.
story.
Maybe
I do
you
have
did
a
something
story.
fun.
All right. So first off, I felt like South by was such a whirlwind. It was packed with a lot of things, insights, meaningful conversations, some great activations. Probably not enough activations by comparison to other years, but
Sure.
there's a lot of things that were packed. And I really tried to attend a lot of AI sessions because I was obviously I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest problem that I personally had was like I couldn't be in two places at once. Duh.
Yeah.
So I struggled with that tremendously because I had this constant FOMO and overwhelm. Where should I be next? Where should I be next? And any activation at South by, if you've been, it takes time. Like you don't just show up and you're like going straight in, because if you do, that means it's not a great activation and nobody wants to be there.
Right.
If it's an amazing one, everybody's there like and there's a line around the block 3 times over, right? So
And
I
they're
think
spread out all over the city. So like you have to
that
have even
too.
transportation time to get, from activation to activation.
Exactly. So I've missed on some cool ones. I've missed on some premieres that I wish I could have been able to do. One of the coolest, I guess, sessions aside from Emotional AI that I joined was one with Dr. Peter Attia. And if you're in the fitness wellness space, you know that if there's a Andrew Huberman, there's also a Dr. Peter Attia. So it was very much aligned with how I feel about fitness and longevity and wellness and all the things. But one of the funnest things was we also had this event tech meetup that Michael Brown, who's the VP of technology at South by, a good friend of mine, planned with Eventbase, the CEO of Eventbase, and they had an amazing activation just for us. There's a lot of
How
people that
fun.
register
Of course.
for that meetup. I think by what I heard, it was like 500 people and it could
Oh my
only like
gosh.
fit 175. So if you didn't make
Holy
the
cow.
cut, if you were a VIP enough, you didn't make the cut. So
I guess you
um,
need to know Anca to get into the VIP on the event tech
I
meetups.
suppose, or just show up early.
Or get there early.
Right. So I connected with a lot of great people. Obviously, Yuli Solaris was there and a few others that was great to be able to have some downtime with. But then after we left from there, IBM, Watson, they always have this ping pong match, which is, IBM Watson is
Right.
very heavy on data analytics. So what this ping pong match is very much connected to their system. And it gives you the analytics of, how many serves you had, how fast they were, like all this data. And last year at Sabai, I was playing with David. He was there, David Stevens, and I beat him. And this year I'm like, okay, Julius, you're next. Let's see if I will beat the greatest event prof of all times. And I mean, honestly, I'm not the greatest ping pong player. I do have good reflexes. So I'm like, let's get down to it. I'm not saying that I'm not very competitive because I really am. So it was such a great experience to beat the greatest event prof of all times, Julius Solaris. To this day, he says that the game was rigged. That's what every man that loses to me says. I
Yes.
don't know what to tell you. All I can tell you is that the data was very much clear and established. Anka
Data
won,
doesn't lie.
does not. And even though there's some AI embedded into it, they might have some hallucinations. I'm saying if your name is connected to 32 points and Euless is like 18, you tell me who the winner is.
I mean, I saw some highlights maybe on Instagram about this ping pong battle, and he definitely was a sore
He
loser.
was not taking it well. It's like he had
He
this
was not a fan.
entire narrative about what happened. I'm like, dude, it's on camera.
Well, Julius, we'll have to have a rematch again, and I think any event prof conference now needs a ping pong tournament, and we can all test our skills.
Yeah, if it's not a ping pong, a push-up challenge for sure. And be sure I'll be ready.
Absolutely. Event of the week. It's my favorite therapy session. The event fails, the unexpected chaos, the are you kidding me moments. So, what's your event of the week? So, thinking about your event production days when you were probably more deeply involved in the actual production, what's something crazy maybe a speaker did? Like, did you ever have a screen fall over in the middle of a session? I mean, we talked about on Events Demystified a little bit about rigging failures because that was when there was a conference that had a deadly mishap that was just kind of crushing. Anything that's crazy that's ever happened to you producing a show?
Oh man, I think I've had a few stories that I've shared on our during our season last year, but I think one that comes to mind as I was thinking about it is where we were producing. It was a pretty large corporate awards gala, and it was in this beautiful ballroom, massive LED wall, IMAX cameras, everything dialed in. We rehearsed, everything was ready. But then, as the CEO walked up to give this opening speech, the giant LED wall behind him switched to the blue screen of that Windows
Oh,
update screen working on update 35%. Do not turn off your computer. And everybody's just like looking at that. So are we. The worst part is our video op could have switched to a different input, like right
To show
away,
the
because
image.
that's why you have a video op right there to be able
Yeah.
to switch something like that happen. But at that exact moment, the client leaned in into the tech table and was asking like some question totally irrelevant to what was going on. So instead of like switching, here we have like this 5 long seconds. And if you've ever been through, a say virtual event where the stream goes down for 5 seconds, you know that those 5 seconds are not 5 seconds long.
It's a whole year.
They
Like you just
feel
lost a year of your life.
right. They feel like an eternity. Now,
Yes.
luckily the CEO, like, sees that everybody's looking and laughing and like turns back and he looks at the screen and he's like joking, well, let's hope that my speech is better than, Windows today. And then everyone laughs. We were able to, switch to the backup, and then everything was saved. Everyone went back on to normal. But one of the things, obviously, that was coming out of that is, first off, do not interrupt the video op or anyone that's behind the tech table as you start the show. Like if it's such a
Yes.
pressing question, just wait. Like I'm sure you can wait. Also, no auto updates on show machines. Always have something ready. Like obviously you can have the hot backup ready,
Of
but like I
course.
said, if you're not paying attention and you're talking to someone else, and we know some people are just not great at multitasking, that can happen.
Yep.
And always, I guess, assign someone for the client communication. I think that was the thing where we had someone assigned, but then it was in a different part of the room. And all of this happened. Was just a perfect example of how one thing can just turn turn into something else really fast.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for Event About It today. Thanks for joining us for another episode where we turn event mishaps into marketing gold. If you enjoyed the chaos, subscribe, leave a review, and share this with somebody who needs a good laugh today. And don't forget to head over to eventaboutitpodcast.com, send us your events and your stories to be featured on a future episode. And while you're there, be sure to join the Squared Squad where you can access bonus content, engage with episode guests, and catch the Event About It after show for dynamic dialogue with Anca, where we're going to continue to demystify AI, talk about biohacking, and business growth. Until next time, keep growing, keep laughing, and definitely keep eventing about it.